Alright, let's talk UFC 226. Daniel Cormier versus Stipe Miocic. And unless you've been living under a rock for the last few days, you will know that Daniel Cormier captured the heavyweight title to go along with the lightweight heavyweight title. Now, Daniel Cormier is like Marmite. You either love him or you hate him. And if you didn't like him before now, he's going to be even more unbearable after. Let's be real. He's going to be... Oh, man. So what happened? Yeah, Daniel Cormier went to work on Stipe. The way I saw the fight was like this. Stipe started off well, closing the distance, lighting Daniel up with some good punches. But then halfway through the fight, even before the eye poke, Daniel Cormier was being really smart. He was able to close the distance. He was able to get the shots off. And I think he was taking over in the second half of the first round. And then towards the end of the first round, they just got tied up close. Daniel Cormier did some slick maneuver. Wham! That's it. Stipe Miocic, undoubtedly the greatest heavyweight champion there's been in the UFC, was out in the first round by Daniel Cormier, a light heavyweight. Now, we need to be fair. Cormier is not really a light heavyweight. He started off his career as a heavyweight, and he was a really, really good prospect as a heavyweight, and almost like a champion in waiting. But he decided to go down to light heavyweight so that he wouldn't fight his teammate Cain Velasquez, who was also a heavyweight contender. And so his journey in the light heavyweight division kind of went, and he was doing well until he ran into the enigma that is John Jones, who has beat him twice and is the only man to beat Daniel Cormier. So Cormier's gone back up to heavyweight, and in his first fight, he fights for the crown and takes it in one round. I don't think it was a fluke. I think a combination of the skills that he's picked up at light heavyweight, so being used to seeing these faster guys, and then having that power back into his hands, meant that he was able to pull it off. You know, he didn't even have to implement any of his wrestling or any of that. So yeah, Cormier is both the heavyweight and the light heavyweight champion. And the noises he's making afterwards, he's already planning his retirement. And why not? Good on him. I mean, I heard that he wants to fight Shogun Rua if he wins his next fight in a light heavyweight defense. You know, that's like a gimme. Let's be honest. He's just going to put Shogun on his back and then beat him up for a few rounds, if that. And then he wants to fight Brock Lesnar. Now, for as big and as bad as Brock Lesnar is, he's been out of the game for a while. So I don't expect him to... I expect him to do well for maybe a round or two, but I expect the grind of Cormier to win a match against Lesnar. A clean Lesnar off the steroids. So for me, it's like already Cormier has laid down his intent to say, look, by March next year, I'm out of the game. And you know what his spiel is going to be. It's going to be, I'm the greatest of all time. The only person I've been beaten by is John Jones, and there's a question mark over John Jones. How legitimate you feel the question mark is will probably be dictated to what your sentiments are towards John Jones, but the fact remains he's failed a couple of drugs tests, and he failed a test in the last fight against Daniel Cormier, and yeah, so he's got the right to pull the, you know, the only person I've lost to is a guy that's, you know, got suspicions of taking performance enhancing drugs. And, you know, if you look at the people that he's beat at light heavyweight, you know, he's beat that big bad Rumble Johnson, who Jones didn't fight. Cormier fought him twice, beat him twice. He's beat Gustafsson. He's beat pretty much everyone there is to beat at light heavyweight. And he's got a pretty decent resume at heavyweight too. Not to mention the fact that he's beaten Stipe Miocic, who, you know, has been running through everybody at heavyweight. You know, Stipe beat, yeah, you might as well call him an enigma now. Francis Ngannou, but when Stipe turned him into mortal. But anyway, so that's oh, I can't believe that I'm going to have to listen to Daniel Cormier going on and on about how bad he is. But yeah, props to him. He deserves it. So, moving on to the co-main event. I don't know what to say about this. Like, is Francis Ngannou a broken man? What's happened? This guy, you know, everyone was touting this guy as the next big thing, and you know, he looked like it when he lifted as the Overeem's head almost off his shoulders. Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking that this guy was superhuman. But, you know, a tough fight like the fight that he had against Miocic, you know, it really kind of brings the character out of somebody. And, you know, if you look at Ngannou out of the ring, you can tell he's a nice guy. He's really polite. You know, he's like, you know, really kind of like nice and humble in a way. In terms of, you don't expect violence to come out of him. And so we almost saw that character in which you wouldn't expect violence to come out of him in the ring. You know, it was almost like didn't really wanna hit Derek Lewis. And it was almost like the perfect storm of a worst case scenario. Like, we all know that Derek Lewis has had back problems. So the worst thing that could happen would be for Derek Lewis to have back problems alongside, you know, Francis Ngannou all of a sudden becoming gun shy because of the loss with Stipe. And those two things both happened. We had gun shy Ngannou and back spasm Lewis and no fighting. Literally no fighting. Like two guys go, you first. No, please you. No, you first. No, please you. So yeah, the less said about that, the better. Let's hope we see both of them back to their normal selves at some point in the near future. But the other fight I want to talk about is a fight that didn't happen. So Brian Ortega versus Max Holloway. First thing, Max, get well soon. You know, whatever's wrong with Max Holloway, for all the fun and games and the jokes and the action, you know, health is number one. And let's hope it isn't too serious for Max. Let's hope he's still blessed. He's able to get into that octagon and show people his true skills as a champion. But the thing that got my goat was the whole controversy around Brian Ortega. Look, Brian Ortega done what he was supposed to do. He got ready. He was ready to fight for the championship. He was ready to fight Max Holloway. He game planned for Max Holloway. He was ready to go. 3 days before Max Holloway pulls out. So he's obviously gutted. Straight away the UFC does this thing. Yeah, who can we get as a replacement? And Brian Ortega says, his team sit down. They say, you know what? We're not fighting. We don't want to fight. You know, we want to fight Max. We were scared for Max. You know, whoever you put in front of us next, we'll wait for Max. And then, what happens? Dana White does his thing. Yeah. And the thing with Dana White is this, right? If somebody steps up last minute or agrees to a last minute matchup because you're a stud, this guy goes out of his way for the company, this is what I'm talking about, this is exceptional, blah, 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 blah. But then someone doesn't do it, it's like, he throws them under the bus. Like, you ruined the show, blah, blah, blah. So which one is it? It's like, it's either the norm for somebody to step up and say, well, I'll take anybody, or it's exceptional for someone to take anybody. And for me, it's exceptional because at the end of the day, we all like to think that these guys are like, yeah, I'm going to get in there, I'll fight anybody and I'll beat up anybody. And that's fine, you know, at a certain level, that might be true. They would beat up anybody. Me and you, they'll just beat us up. That's great. They'll fight us anytime. But when you're talking about fighting the elite of the elite, you're fighting top 5, top 10 guys in the world. You're fighting for the title. You know, why are you fighting the best in the world on 3 days' notice? Like a toss-up. You're turning what could be a good game plan, what could be a good camp, getting ready for the one guy, into essentially a toss-up. And if your fight style isn't rock'em sock'em, brawl 'em, I'll fight anybody, I'm in and out. If you're kind of more cerebral, then you're probably not going to want to do that. And if you look at the history of people that have taken short notice fights, yeah, they may have won, but look at their performances. I mean, take for example Conor McGregor. He's the man for I will fight anybody on short notice. When he fought Max Holloway on short notice, no, not Max Holloway, when he fought Chad Mendes on short notice, you know, he was being wrestled, he was being dominated on the floor, and yeah, he was able to turn it around in the second round and knock out Mendes, but that was a tough fight. You know, that was a tough, risky fight that he took right there. And then obviously we all know what happened the first time he fought Nate Diaz on short notice. You know, he got choked out. Yeah, so if you look at when, say, Cormier fought Anderson Silva, who was a middleweight on short notice, they stunk out the place because Cormier couldn't even enforce, even though Cormier's game was straightforward, you know, you could just have wrestled him and grind him down. The fact that he was fighting Anderson Silva, you had to think and game plan for that. He didn't have the time to game plan for it. So, you know, at the top level, it's a risk. It's a big risk if you're fighting an elite fighter on, you know, 3 days notice. You know, this isn't like fighting somebody, you know, in a bar. You know, we all know what happened, or we all rumoured to have happened to Tito Ortiz when he fought Lee Murray in the bar. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, you know, it's understandable why Brian Ortega wouldn't agree to it, and the fact that he's being almost vilified for it. And I think, to be fair to Dana White, it's probably because, you know, he's looking at it like that's the co-main event, and he's seen Daniel Cormier trip over at a press conference. He could have lost both his main event and his co-main event in just a matter of days before International Fight Week. Yeah, so no wonder why he was screwing. He just wants to see a show for the fans. And he thinks like a fan. You know, he thinks like a fan sometimes. But I think he's in a position where, you know, Dana White could say shit to anybody. He could say, rah, 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 to anybody. And he knows he can pull it back. He knows he can pull it back. He can say, because he's the boss in that way. You know what I mean? He can, like, talk shit and then be emotional and then think about it afterwards and then change his mind, you know, because he runs the show. But anyway, good move would be to reconcile with Brian Ortega, because I think, you know, he's a good-looking Mexican lad. That's a perfect combination right there. Good-looking Mexican fighter. You don't want to lose that on your roster. I don't care how big you think your promotion is. You know, if you've got a guy like Brian Ortega who can open up that market for you, think Saul Alvarez, if he can open up that market for you and become a marquee name, you don't want to mess about with that. So yeah, Brian Ortega, hopefully he can fight Max Holloway soon, or if not, he can fight someone else for the title. And yeah, let's see how that goes. But yeah, all in all, UFC 226. Oh, Daniel Cormier is going to be unbearable. I don't know if I can listen to him commentating anymore, because I know he's going to be dropping it at least 5 times in every commentary he does. Anyway, that's enough. That's my review of UFC 226. There are good fights, but I ain't got time.